the voices that propel us, stories of justice, action, and community. A space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You were just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have the great pleasure of welcoming back our guest, Sam Castle. Sam is a certified trauma-informed coach and the founder of Be You Do You Coaching, where his mantra is, you don't need permission to be who you are. He lives in sunny California with his wife Vanessa and their fur babies Hershey and Snicker. A transgender man, Sam is passionate about authenticity, kindness, and personal growth. After years of self-reflection, he began his gender transition at 36 and has since dedicated his life to helping others heal from trauma and embrace their true selves. With 13 plus years of experience in mental health, Sam's trauma-informed coaching centers on freedom, faith, and empowerment. Sam was recently accepted to the University of the Pacific and will be pursuing a master's degree in social work to deepen his impact. He is committed to uplifting his community and inspiring others to live fearlessly and authentically. Okay, well, hi, Sam. I'm so happy to have you back again. Thank you for taking the time to be here at the Voices That Propel Us again. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Happy Friday. Thank you for having me back. I felt like there was so much more I wanted to say in part one, so I appreciate being able to be here for part two.
Yeah, of course. No, I feel like there's so many different themes and topics that we could always explore. So you're always a welcome guest on the show.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'd like, we were saying I'd love to just build on what we already talked about. So, yeah, just like to start off, there's a lot of focus on coming out stories, but what moments of everyday living feel most affirming to you now?
That's a good question. For me, what feels most affirming is it's not something other people give me. It's more so affirming who I am for me, throughout everyday moments. Um, I give myself permission to be exactly who I want to be, that really falls in line with, my be you do you mission and mantra. You don't need permission to be who you are. And so it's important for me to first accept myself and then, while coming out stories are powerful and I encourage, those who are listening, if you're able to do that, that's great. But like having real honest conversations with people in community or people that I meet that really see me for who I am, outside of how I identify, that's also affirming too. So just learning how to affirm myself, which I've been able to do throughout my journey, and then, connecting with others who see me for who
Yeah.
I am.
No, I love that. And I really love what you said last time too, that you don't owe anyone your story. Like you'll tell your story when you want to, but I think it just
Yeah.
people shouldn't have that expectation that you have to tell your story every time.
Yeah, yeah, because our stories are filled with so much, vulnerability, and so we have every right to, keep those stories close, until we feel more comfortable with sharing those parts of us because they are so intimate.
Yeah, exactly. So just building on that, how do you navigate vulnerability in sharing your story while also protecting your own peace?
Um, so I recently revisited my values. So peace is actually, where is it at? My top 10 values. I believe peace is right in the middle. No, so peace is actually non-negotiable for me. It's important for me. So I surround myself in spaces where I can feel that. And like you said before, um, I'm very intentional on who I share my story with.
Mhm.
I can typically, get a feel of the energy and the space that I'm in, if it's okay to share or kind of test the waters a little bit. But yeah, that's where my empowerment lies is just giving myself permission to share my story or not. It's up
Yeah.
to me at the end of the day.
Cool. No, thank you for sharing that. That's really awesome. So you've spoken about authenticity before. How does authenticity look different in a climate where trans identities are under political attack right now?
I think you pointed this out in our last conversation where you were breaking down like the meaning of advocacy. So that kind of falls in line with my authenticity. I feel I feel like I'm in my truth when I'm being fully authentic, like even when the world around me feels hostile and wants to silence, marginalized voices, especially trans voices, I feel like being authentic is also an act of my resistance against
Mhm.
that. Like showing up fully in all of who I am, all parts, no matter what, even if I'm afraid. So that's what authenticity means to me. It's like standing in it, no matter who's listening, who's watching, um, and just showing up in ways that feels right for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. And um, yeah, I just, hate to see like what this political climate is doing to folks, like especially, if you're just trying to live your life and everything. But I don't know if you noticed this, but actually I recently purchased airline tickets.
Mhm.
And one of the questions, like when it asked for passenger information,
Yeah.
it just said, "What is your gender?" And it just said male, female. And usually it says also like other, non-binary. It gives you other choices. But I don't remember ever having to put my like gender on like a ticket. So I don't know if something's going to come from this or something. But that's something that I thought was just really strange, though, because I think we've gotten to a point where we're more progressive now and there's been like other choices, but now it's just male, female. Those were the only two choices. And I feel like we're kind of taking step backwards. Whereas like I felt like we were going in a positive direction, slowly but surely. But I feel like with this current administration, we've been taking so many steps backward and just like
Yeah.
breaking down this progress that we've made through the years.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I remember before uh, President Trump got in office again. It wasn't so much an issue. I do know that since he's been in office, especially for passports and things that deal with gender, they've removed, like the T from the passports website, so you can no longer, you know, there's no other options, like you said,
Um,
since his presidency. So it's definitely unfortunate, and I hate to see us go backwards. But then, I look at history, and the history has been like we go forward, then we go backwards, we go forward and we go backwards, depending on the ideas that are at hand. So if you have more so of the traditional ideas, and whoever's in presidency, if they have those same ideas, then you'll probably see more of those rules and regulations presented. Hopefully, once we get someone new, and especially with a lot of the protests that we've been having and pushback that we've gotten from people who don't really align with his beliefs and views, I'm hoping that a shift happens sooner than later,
yeah.
because again, we all should have the right to, choose how we show up in life. So hopefully we do see a change and shift soon.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm really hopeful. And I think that's why it's so important for like um just like folks to be sharing their stories and like people hearing those just of course like when you feel comfortable sharing your stories because I feel like it's gotten to a point where like when they talk about trans issues it's like statistics or just labels and not really recognizing the people behind those labels though that it's just you're people too you're not just like this label.
Yeah. There's a lot of there's definitely a lot of misinformation spread, especially around
Yeah.
trans issues and who we are as people. We definitely don't get the accurate representation that we need, especially when it's someone who's not of trans experience.
Mhm.
It's almost like they're trying to share our stories for us. And so that's why I'm really grateful for platforms like yours and, other platforms that I stay tapped into, because that's where you're going to get the real accurate information.
Yeah, no, totally. That leads me to the next question that I had. So, what's a common misconception about trans men that you wish that more people would challenge or rethink?
Um, this is something that I've had to like navigate through, especially as a trans masculine man, like what my idea of being a man looks like. And so, like, a big misconception about trans men is that we fit into this traditional box or this
Mm.
narrow idea of what masculinity is, and that's far from the truth. We all show up differently. We don't show up the same. We don't have the same ways or views around masculinity. We're a very diverse community and we celebrate that. And so that's one of the big misconceptions of like what it means to be a man, especially a trans man.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. So in today's climate of increasing anti-trans legislation, what impacts are you seeing most in your community? And this can be both emotionally as well as physically.
I remember when Trump first got elected, there was a lot of fear within the community. I
Yeah.
mean, at that time, I was hosting a support group online, and I remember the first session, it was so heavy, but after going around and we talked about our concerns and fears, and then we talked about how we could show up and be resilient, also in spite of, um, that was when everyone felt empowered. And so there's been a mixture of resilience, empowerment, but then also, conscious, being conscientious of, safety and what is happening around. Not saying that we have to ignore it, but just also finding those moments of joy, what makes you happy, but just finding a healthy balance. So
Yeah.
um, in the beginning, there was like a mix of fear and worry and concern, but as a community, we came together and talked about it, and we're moving forward. I see a lot of people that I've been able to connect to, continuing their advocacy, and continuing to be a voice and uplifting the community. So
Mm.
that's been great to see,
Yeah.
in spite of all of the chaos.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think that was the reason why I wanted to start this podcast. To begin with, I felt like there was like so much negativity, but I want folks to see like, well, there's also a lot of people who are doing good out there and supporting each other. It's not
Oh
all
yeah.
negative. I feel like there's a lot of people countering these negative narratives that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off what you're saying, that's why I think it's important to unplug from social media sometimes and the news, because depending on what outlet you're getting your information from, it can seem a bit overwhelming, and sometimes the information is not as accurate. And so that's why I said it's important to connect with accurate sources, with
Right.
people who are actually doing the work out there.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And that actually is exactly what I was wanting to ask you about. So how do you personally balance staying informed with protecting your mental health from the constant news cycle? So sometimes I feel like that way too. Like I want to be informed, but at the same time, there's times when I'm like, I just got to shut off. It's just gonna impact me, my mental health, really negative. So how do you like balance that though for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about too much of anything can be impactful to your mental health. Too much of any negative information or whatnot, excuse me, can be impactful. So I remember like when I first started, excuse me, I got the hiccups. When I first started my healing journey and putting myself out there and starting my podcast, that really opened up a lot of connections. So I met a lot of people within community, within advocacy spaces. And so I sort of built on that and created, lasting relationships. And so I stay connected to, for example, I got a brother who lives out in, I want to get this right, I believe North Carolina, one of those red states. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? But I get it. Everyone's situation is not the same. It's not so easy to pick up and move, but I stay connected to him. He has a podcast. He also has a ministry. He's also a trans man of color. And he's also a part of a magazine called Blackout Magazine.
Okay.
You can find them on YouTube, and they're always pushing like the latest information about trans issues, LGBTQ issues, things that are actually happening out there in the world, like
Yeah.
real things, not the information you're going to get on Fox News. Um, Other people that I've started following on social media, like the Conscious Lee,
Mhm.
Hope Giselle, Angelica Ross. Also started following other trans social media influencers as well. So, like I said, just being connected to those people who are actually out there doing the work and staying positive, staying peaceful, and actually sharing their stories. And then, like as far as like the spiritual component, I currently attend Spirit and Truth Community, so that's what helps me like around my spiritual journey. Just really just staying tapped into those voices that are speaking the truth.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, I think it's so important, like you were saying, like to build our own community right now, just to like uplift each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, what forms of allyship feel most powerful and helpful to you right now?
Um, Allyship is really important. And I think the best allyship now more than ever is just listening to trans voices. Like I said, don't try to overpower our voices with your own stories. I think there's power in listening and
Mhm.
understanding and then acting on the matter with the individual or collectively. Um, and also getting connected to I would advise like anyone in allyship, like get connected to trans-led organizations. I'm speaking too fast. Yeah, getting connected to trans-led organizations so that you can be, um, educated and in the know and being aware of what actually is going on versus assuming. So those are two things that really stand out is listening to our stories and then getting more involved, like getting hands-on and getting active with the community.
Yeah, I love that. And I know you were talking about like not overpowering like with their own stories. Is that something that you've actually seen people do though? Like not listen as much, but like try to overshare or like yeah, tell overpower with their own stories?
Yeah, I mean, I've come across so many different platforms on YouTube.
Mm.
Nowadays it's so easy to get a hold of a mic and then just talk and then create your own thing.
Yeah.
And I notice like a lot of um people within faith communities,
Mhm.
um, they talk a lot about trans issues or LGBTQ issues, how it's bad, how it's wrong, how it's immorally wrong. And it's just people that are given this platform and then there's no there's no censor against what people can say nowadays. Like people can say whatever they want. They can create a podcast and just, talk. But I think it creates more harm than anything else, especially when you're misinformed and especially when you aren't trans yourself or LGBTQ yourself. How dare you create a platform and then spew all this negativity when you have no idea of our lived experiences?
Yeah. No, actually, I've been thinking a lot about that too. I feel like having access to all these resources is kind of like a blessing and a curse. It's just like because I feel like if I didn't have access to these, there's no way I would have been able to start a podcast on my own with, no equipment or, like just that. But I feel because it's so easy to access these resources. And yeah, I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, but all you really need is like either a computer or phone or something to record, and you could just like upload and you don't have to like pay anything or anything like that. But I see my daughter looks at a lot of YouTube too, and I just feel like all this content out there, it's just like it gets really overwhelming sometimes.
It does, especially the ones that are negative or the
Yeah.
misinformation. I don't know how many times I'll watch a trans influencer video, but then following that video, I'll see something about detransitioning. And
Mm.
just to touch on that a little bit, detransitioning does happen with individuals who transition, but then they decide to not go through with it. And a huge part of that reason is the lack of support, and the pressures from society. So, and that's a slim percentage. That's about 1% of the population. And so I
Okay.
really wish that we wouldn't group the stories all together
Yeah.
and recognize that this is not everyone's story or journey.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that. So what do you say to those who feel overwhelmed by the scope of anti-trans legislation and don't even know where to start showing up?
Um, I would say start small.
Mhm.
Pick a cause that you're passionate about. Like I said, educate yourself, learn about trans issues, or check on your friends if you have friends who of trans experience, check on them more often.
Mhm.
But you don't have to start big, just start one step at a time. Because I didn't start this journey like guns blazing. I started
Mhm.
small, started building
Yeah.
relationships little by little, and
Yeah.
now I'm here.
No, that's cool. Actually, it reminded me of something. I know that we were also talking about like your experience, like when you were younger. Do you want to talk about that a little more too? Like how you started like thinking. Yeah, I remember even the last episode you were on. You were talking about like recognizing this even like as a child. So yeah, I just want to give that space to you if you want to open up or talk about that more right now.
Yeah, what do you want to know? There's so
No,
much.
just like yeah, whatever you feel like you're is speaking to you right now. Just like your journey of maybe even identifying. Like I think since you're like a young child, I can imagine you not even having the language to process that or anything. So yeah.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. I had no language at all. I had no one
Mm,
around me who I knew was gay or lesbian or trans. Um, I didn't even know what I was experiencing. I just knew at a very young age, around 5 years old, that I started questioning and like feeling this pull or not feeling aligned with the gender that I was at birth, which was female. Like I didn't align with any of that.
yeah.
And again, I go back to there weren't many conversations happening at home, and I feel like if that was available, I'd probably have a different journey. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that I did have the journey I have because now with all the information I have, I can fully support someone else
Yeah.
who might be struggling and trying to figure things out. So early childhood was wild. I mean, I was still a kid, I grew up in a big household. Um, Family was everything, but again, there was a
Mm,
lot of things we weren't talking about. And that had a huge impact because when it was time for me to talk about it, I had a lot of anger and a lot of resentment, and I had to work through that, which I'm still, working through that right now with my therapist because there's a lot of things that I've unpacked on my own, but I haven't been able to unpack that with people who caused the harm.
Yeah.
Um, specifically uh my mom, not to
Mhm.
throw our business out there, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of things that I haven't been able to unpack. But
Yeah.
we're getting there slowly but surely. I'm hopeful that things will take a turn. But what I have realized around this journey is that people have to be ready to make those changes. It can't be
Mhm.
forced. And so, I'm being patient, but at the same time, I'm gonna keep it moving.
Yeah.
And family is ready to join me on this journey, they're more than welcome to. But if they're not, then it is what it is, and I gotta keep pushing forward.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for sharing that too, because something that I've heard in this narrative too, of like I think especially when it comes around children, I keep seeing people say like, "Oh, children don't know any better. They don't have their own agency when it comes around to something like this." So it's just like I feel like people are making it seem like, "No, no, it's just like kids are kids and they don't know any better." And yeah, but I just love how you shared your story that like, no, you were very young and you were very aware of this. And yeah, just I feel like even pulling back, like, oh, we can't provide care because like a child doesn't know any better. We're not going to move forward with any care.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Well, yeah, kids know it's the
Yeah.
adults that are questioning because again, the adults who decide to be parents, they're often young themselves. Like my mom was 19 when she first had me. I'm the
Mhm.
oldest. And so I can only imagine like what she was experiencing internally herself. But again, we didn't talk about it. But kids do ultimately know who they are, and when given the safe space to explore that, they can definitely flourish and thrive. And not to say that in the end, they're going to choose to transition or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. But I feel like when kids are given that safety, it can be a totally different experience and journey.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. So, are there any particular wins or moments of progress that give you hope despite the political challenges that are going on?
I like following young activists,
Sure.
like people who are passionate about the cause, people who are passionate just about shifting the world in general, like actually being the change they want to see. Like that's what gives me hope. And so as
Mhm.
much as what's going on around might feel overwhelming or stressing us all the hell out. That's what gives me hope. I feel like there's more good than the negative that we see.
Yeah. No, that's
So I'll take that any day. That's a win.
yeah. No, I think that's why I love working with young people because it's just that more like optimism and like also the physical energy to be able to push. I feel
Yeah.
like as when I was younger, I think I was more like gung ho, like, oh, we got to take down the system, a lot more radical in my thinking. But I don't know if it's age or maybe I just felt so defeated as I got older. But as I got older, it was just feeling more like cynicism or like, oh, I can't do anything. But yeah, I just love that youthful energy, and I feel like they can make um, so much of a difference, I think, in our culture.
Yeah, and I think a combination with the old and new, it can
Yeah.
definitely push us forward because we do need the young ones.
Yeah.
As much wisdom and experience as we have, I feel like they have a lot of great ideas. They're definitely innovative and motivated. And so coming together, I definitely think that we can push the needle farther than what it is.
Yeah, I love that. So, as a trauma-informed coach, how do you support clients who are navigating fear, anger, or despair about the political climate?
I more so just provide them a safe space to explore and unpack their feelings and emotions around the political climate and whatever else is affecting them. I'm definitely big on providing, mindfulness to tools to help them process through, their traumatic experience and whatever they're dealing with. And then just reminding them that they are resilient and they do have the power and capability to rewrite their own narrative, like no matter what's going on around them. Because I know it's easy to get swept up in that or go down a rabbit hole of what if and what I'm
Yeah.
going to do. But I'm a firm believer in being in the present moment because we can't do anything about the future when it's not here. So
Yeah.
all we have is that present moment and what we can do now.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome. And what role do you believe healing work plays in sustaining long-term activism for trans rights?
I think healing and activism goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
If you're not healing or doing the work yourself internally, you're going to burn out. If you don't process your own trauma and triggers that you may still have or things that are still coming out, you're not going to be able to be that advocate and what people need to truly see. So I feel like when you are healing and you are going through your own transformation and processing whatever emotions you are coming up with, whether it's around politics or family or whatever it may be, I think it's important to heal in
Yeah.
order to be a powerful advocate.
No, that's really cool. And how can the mental health field better respond to the unique needs of trans clients right now?
That's a good question. So as I reflect back on my journey, I think a huge part of it is that the mental health field definitely needs to step up. I
Yeah.
don't know what's happening within our system. I definitely think that we need to tear it down and rebuild it, starting from the top up,
Yeah.
um, and really start listening to the voices of the people because that's what matters.
Uh-huh.
They're the ones that knows what's going on with them. I definitely think that we need more training and awareness around
Mhm.
a lot of different issues, not just trans issues, but a lot of different issues as well, so that we can better support and equip individuals to go out there in the real world. So
Yeah.
I definitely think we need a lot more spaces that are truly affirming, not just pushing this medication or pushing this
Yeah.
diagnosis, but we need a space where people can actually come, have their voices heard, be seen and really fully be supported.
Yeah. And have you seen shifts in terms of the mental health field? Because I know that you've worked in the mental health field for quite a while. Do you see any differences from like when you first started versus like how it looks now? Like have you seen any like shifts in the positive direction or even negative, I guess too?
That's a good question. Well, I worked in the mental health field for about 14 years until
Mhm.
I resigned last year. But I
Yeah.
know just being in it, it was overwhelming because there were so many patients that I wanted to help, but I couldn't really help because
Yeah.
again, you have to follow these policies and procedures, especially in corporate healthcare, they're big on numbers and performances, and they're big on profit over people. And so I really couldn't get with that. And so that was one of the reasons why I left. I can't really go into details of why I actually left, but
Hmm.
that was one of the big reasons was it's so profit driven.
Hmm.
It's not about really helping the patient become whole again, it's just more so throwing them into a class and expecting for them to be okay after a couple of months. And
Yeah.
that's not real care or treatment. So
Yeah.
I would definitely say that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And hopefully, with my up and coming training, going back to school, I'm hoping that I can be impactful in some way.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that too, and saying that and acknowledging it, because I think like for myself too, like being on the patient side of things and like receiving care, that's what I felt. I felt like they just kept pushing medications, and I think in my case I kept telling them I'm not feeling well, and they're like, "Oh, well, just try this other medication." So I had such like a cocktail of medications in me that it
Mhm.
really messed up my health. And I regret not just listening to my gut and just saying earlier, because eventually I just said I don't want to try anything else because they kept saying like, "Oh no, I'll try this one." But yeah, I just felt like it was very like pushing medications on me, and getting to like a quick fix for something, whereas like, without getting to root of like what was going on for me. So yeah, thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen a lot of that, and that was my experience as well, which is why I had to go outside of corporate healthcare.
Hmm.
And I'm grateful now to have a supportive therapist who is also a trans man of experience, and so
Hmm.
he's been a wonderful guide and support system. But sometimes you got to take matters into your own hand. You got to
Yeah.
do your own research, and really do what's best for you.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And have you adjusted your coaching approach in response to the current climate? And if yes, can you just let us know how?
Um, I've placed coaching a little bit on hold, but like when I
Hmm.
am available to coaching, it's basically more so about what you want to discuss. It's client led. I don't give my input, unless I necessarily have to, but it's more so just about helping that client know that again, they have the power to take back the pen and write their own story. So it's whatever they want to discuss. I'm that safe space. I'm non-judgmental, and I just give them a space to open up and be themselves, whatever it is they want to share or what's on their heart and mind. That's pretty much how we go about it.
Oh, that's really beautiful. And I think because you're being like that, like showing up authentically, I think it also gives people like feeling empowered and just like feeling comfortable opening up about their stories. At least, in my experience too, like people who like have your approach, those are the people that I feel more comfortable opening up about my stories versus like if I just feel like I'm just going in and out, it's just like, I'm not going to really open up
Yeah.
because like I don't feel as compelled. But I think that's really cool how you're trying to just connect with people on just a real level.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my experience was with a coach. And so,
Mhm.
um, I liked that. I liked that approach. I liked how the coach gave me a lot of leeway and kind of taking the wheel myself. It helped me build confidence, and that's what I want to instill in my clients, like
Yeah.
helping them build that confidence so they can be resilient and empowered at the end.
Yeah, that's cool. So, as you begin your master's in social work, how do you see your future role in advocating for systemic change for trans people?
Well, I'm really excited about, getting into my master's in social work. It officially starts next week, Monday to
Uh-huh.
be exact, the
Like,
25th.
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I'm really excited about it. It's been a long time coming. It's something I've journaled and meditated and prayed on, and so I just feel like it's the perfect time. But as far as trans issues, I definitely feel like we need more trans voices in the room. I know
Mhm.
there are a lot of trans advocates out there, um, having their voices heard, pushing issues that are important and that matter. But I don't want to say regular, but I want to hear more of those voices that you wouldn't necessarily hear, like you talk about in your podcast.
Mhm.
Uplifting those voices that you wouldn't necessarily see in social media or the news, like
Yeah.
really getting a lot of different diverse stories out there. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah. No, yeah, I love that too, because I think Yeah, I was reading this article the other day. I might have talked about this on another episode too, but it was this woman or this person, I guess, was talking about how they wrote about their trauma. And I think they saw like another article saying, oh, you have no right to talk about your trauma unless you're like a famous person or celebrity, because since you're famous, now people could know your story. I'm like, that's really sad. I think that's why I want to do like uplifting stories this way because, like, no, it's just, yeah, everyone matters. Our stories matter. This planet is made of humans, and as humans, we have stories to tell. Yeah, it's just I feel like sometimes we're told these messages that we're not important enough. Our stories don't matter. Whereas, like, I feel like with this podcast, I hope that people can know, like, no, my story does matter. And, you see, even the people that I've talked to, like, I've had such a great time and connected with them afterwards, and them just saying, thank you for this platform to share my story. So, I just want people to feel more comfortable and that they have that right and like that they have a lot of value that they could put into this world, though.
Yeah, I love where you're taking your podcast. Like we definitely, like you said, need more voices out there that we typically wouldn't hear.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, I think when we look at celebrities or people with money, we think that they're not human, but they're human at the end of the day. We all go through challenges regardless of how much money we have.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right. So
it
I
might, it might make navigating, certain systems easier with the amount of money, but that doesn't invalidate their experience or their trauma.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about this a little earlier, but what gives you hope for the next generation of trans youth, even amid today's challenges?
What gives me hope is their ability to be straightforward. A lot
Mhm.
of young folks are unapologetically themselves, they definitely don't ask for permission, especially with social media. They're very vocal on issues of the heart. And so that's what really gives me hope. Like I said, just combining their wisdom with our wisdom will definitely go far. I definitely feel like a shift is coming.
Yeah, me too. I'm really hopeful too. So yeah, with that, like if you could envision a world 10 years from now where trans people are fully affirmed and protected, what would that look like to you?
In 10 years, hmm. I envision a world where trans people don't have to come out, where it is considered the norm, you
Mhm.
know, um, where we're not just tolerated, we're celebrated, where every time you turn around and there's a presidential election, trans issues are on the table. Um, I'm sick and tired of seeing it. I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. Um, we are 1% of the population, very few. And so, yeah, I want to see a world where we can all live in peace and not just have to feel like we have to survive, but where we can thrive and be empowered and be successful without having to worry about, coming out
Yeah.
to anyone. We can come out and feel safe. We can come out and feel respected and not have to constantly, look over our shoulders and not have to live in fear about where we live, whether or not our neighbor is homophobic or transphobic, or whether or not we can walk into a church and we're going to get judged and kicked out and banned. Like the world that I want to live in, I want a world where it's inclusive, where it celebrates our uniqueness and our diversity
Hmm.
and all of our experiences. That's the world that I want to live in, and that's the world that I want to be a part of creating.
No, yeah, I love that. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today. It was really wonderful talking with you again. And yeah, I love
Yeah.
how you shared your stories and your wisdom. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or put out there? Maybe that you didn't have a chance to say earlier. I just wanted to give you that space if you wanted to share anything else.
I definitely want to thank you again for having me on for part two. I definitely feel better about this one in the fact that I was able to talk a little bit about trans issues and our experiences. So I really appreciate the time. But yeah, if anyone wants to connect with me, I'm always open in connecting, collaborating, or just being a space. If you need someone and you
Yeah.
want to just talk, you can always reach out at budocoaching.com. You want to be on my podcast as well and get your story out. Let's get our stories out there. Let's create a better world. And actually be the change, be the change that we want to see. I think that was a Gandhi quote, but
Yes.
yeah, really like not just talk it, but really be that change. I think it's time. I think it's time for us to do that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And just want to let you know, Sam, I really love you. You're always welcome back anytime. Just
I
send me a
love
message,
that.
give me a call, say like, hey, can I come back on?
Yeah, for sure.
You're always welcome here.
Part three, four, five, six.
I know. No,
Yeah.
always. But yeah, thank you so much again, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean